Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to At America TV. My name is James, one of the three guides here in At America, and we welcome our audience members joining us online. We hope that you are doing well and staying safe. At America is the U.S. Embassy's American Center, and our mission is to provide a space for young Indonesians to learn more about the United States. We have temporarily moved to a solely digital platform so that you guys could enjoy us from the comforts of your own home. For those of you who are joining us through Zoom, welcome. There are a couple of features that you can use to actively participate with us. You can use our chat box section to say hi to the panelists and our other participants and leave your questions in the Q&A box section. On this episode, we'll be having Indonesia and the Philippines faced destructive fishing during COVID-19. But before we begin, I have a little game for everyone. Recently, the protection of a species in marine conservation was forced to be suspended in order to protect the vaquitas, a type of porpoise, because of COVID-19. Which species was this? Stay tuned until the end of this program because we'll be giving live shoutouts at the end to whoever answered the question correctly. Other than that, don't forget to take a selfie and tag our Ad America's Instagram account. Without further ado, let me introduce you to today's moderator, April Sirait, a senior assignment editor from CNN TV Indonesia. April, how's it going? Are you doing well?
I'm doing very well, James. Thank you so much.
That's great. Well, the stage is yours.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to an America webinar on Indonesia and the Philippines are facing an increase in maritime poaching during the COVID-19 pandemic. With me, April Sirait. I'm an assignment editor at CNN Indonesia TV based in Jakarta, Indonesia. Mogabay reported that since March 1st, authorities in Indonesia have seized dozens of foreign fishing vessels despite a ban on their operation in Indonesian waters since 2014. Travel bans and low security enforcements due to reallocation of resources to support COVID-19 relief have resulted in destructive fishing activities. Despite widespread recognition of the threat, information about the issues is still limited. The media plays a vital role in increasing public awareness about environmental protection and sustainability of two countries' marine resources. To further discuss the issue and to commemorate World Oceans Day on June 8, the U.S. Embassy, in partnership with the Society of Indonesian Environmental Journalists, is hosting this webinar. After opening remarks, we will discuss more about destructive fishing during COVID-19 pandemic with the experts. First, opening remarks from Benny Lee, Second Secretary in the Economic Section at the U.S. Embassy in Jakarta, Indonesia. Her portfolio covers U.S.-Indonesian policy related to forestry, wildlife and marine conservation, and fishing issues. Benny has previously served in Karachi as the Economic Unit Head in Washington, D.C., on the Pakistan desk, New Delhi, and Seoul. And second, opening remarks from Rochi Mawati, known as Mba Ochi, she's the IEG chairperson since 2019. In 2013, she joined FIFA.co.id, and she has been the economic and business editor since 2014. We're playing the recorded opening remarks.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening, and thank you for joining us for our webinar, Indonesia and the Philippines Face Destructive Fishing During COVID-19. Illegal fishing in its many forms is a constant problem with the biodiverse waters of the Indonesian and Philippine archipelagos. As the world is focusing on controlling the COVID epidemic, both countries have experienced a significant increase in illegal fishing in their waters. This not only leads to more overfishing in these waters, but also the use of poisons, explosives, and bottom trawling causes permanent damage to the ocean environment. Now, destructive fishing directly impacts the livelihood and welfare of Indonesians and Filipinos. Now, millions depend on the ocean for their economy, for their money, for their livelihoods, and millions more depend on it for food. So, destructive fishing and its long-lasting impacts on Indonesia and the Philippines isn't well known, and this is where the media across all platforms can play a vital role in boosting the information and the visibility of it in both nations. We have three great speakers today, and they're going to discuss the state of our seas and how the media can highlight destructive fishing and its consequences to the population in pointing out its importance to the welfare of both countries. Thank you for joining us, and I hope you can join us in protecting the world's greatest environment and resource, the ocean.
Hello everyone, good evening. Thank you for attending this event. I hope you are all in good health. COVID-19 pandemic makes us finally have to do activity at home. Work, school, worship must also be done at home. Many researchers say that the COVID-19 pandemic is related to the environmental. On June 8, we celebrated World Ocean Day, and it's time for us to protect the sea for the future. Well, the one that we highlighted this time is about marine. Indonesia is the largest archipelagic country in the world. With its rich natural marine resources, Indonesia becomes the world's second largest producer of seafood. Over the years, destructive fishing practices continue to increase. The activities use fishing methods that are not environmentally friendly, such as blast and cyanide fishing. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the Ministry of Maritime Affairs and Fisheries studied that there had been an increase in destructive fishing practices, especially in the targeted areas. However, high dependence of marine resources has resulted in overexploitation and degradation, so that damaging the biodiversity in our oceans. Therefore, the media plays a vital role in increasing awareness of environmental protection. Journalist reports on the issues can be a tool to get messages across effectively to raise public awareness about the sustainability of Indonesia marine biodiversity. To discuss environmental issues, especially marine, in a time of pandemic, SIEG collaborated with US Embassy and America to organize a workshop. Indonesia and the Philippines face destructive fishing during COVID-19. I hope this event will benefit for all. Thank you to speaker for this time, Ms. Lailani from Mangabay, Philippines, Mbak Ines from WRI, and Mas Irfan, senior journalist from SIEG. Thank you.
All right, let's just jump right into this interesting topic that's probably not getting enough attention during this pandemic about destructive fishing activities. Joining with us, three panelists who will share their ideas about this issue according to the professional field. I would like also to address that the stories and opinions shared by panelists are personal and do not represent their institution or the government. You can also participate during this live discussion by sending us your questions to America's social media platforms on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube. I will read your questions during Q&A session after the presentations. Also, special shout out to our audience that joining us all the way from the Philippine corner. Hi, thank you so much for joining us. So let me just introduce our speakers. The first we have Leila Chavez from the Philippines. Leila.
Hi, I'm Leila Chavez from the Philippines. I'm based in Manila, and I'm here to, yeah. Should I start now? Sorry.
Yeah,
Yes.
Leila, would you like to introduce yourself to our audience?
Right. So, hi, I'm Leilani Chavez. I'm a staff writer for Manga Bay Enviro News Philippines. I've been a journalist for the last 13 years and just recently been reporting on um, the oceans in the Philippines. So, I'll share with you my slide
Yeah,
so I can
please
begin my
do share what
presentation.
kind of story that you will share with us this evening.
Yes. So basically, what my goal for the evening and for this 10 minutes is to basically give you an overview of the Philippines ocean-based blue economy, our fisheries sector before COVID-19, and how it impacted our sector, and also reporting challenges. And I'll end it with topics that we could explore in the future, or maybe this year or early next year. So here's a brief overview of the Philippines blue economy. So we have around 679,800 square kilometers of marine area and only 300,000 square kilometers of land area. Now, 37,000 uh, square kilometers of those are coastlines, and that's where 60% of the population lives. Um, we have I've included also our coral covers, our mangrove forests, and our seagrass beds. They're not as big compared to the ones in Indonesia, but in previous studies, they mentioned they mentioned that the Philippines has one of the most number of species per unit area, and it's considered like the global center of marine biodiversity. So another good thing to note here is that um, it's an estimated that around 6.2 trillion could be the net annual benefits from marine ecosystems. This is based on 2007 exchange rate, which is $1 is equal to 15 pesos. But right now, the exchange rate is $1 to 50 pesos. So it more or less tripled in the last, I think, more than 10 years. So we have 75 declared marine protected areas, and of those protected areas, we have 35 that has legislation. It covers around 220 million hectares. That's around, according to our environment department, that's 1.4% of the total marine area. And we have around 1.9 million fisher folks and other people who depend on the fishing sector. So when it comes to our fishery sector, um, we have 1.1 million metric tons coming from municipal fisheries. This is based on 2018 data, and around 900,000 metric tons coming from commercial fisheries. Now, I didn't include the aquaculture, but the ratio is more or less 50% of the total fisheries production of the Philippines. So when it comes to registered municipal fishing vessels, we have 258,000, and for commercial vessels, that's 8,100. Now, when I say municipal fishing vessels, these are vessels that are less than 3 tons, 3 gross tons, and if it goes beyond that, it's already considered commercial vessels. Now, majority of our fisher folks or artisanal fishers use small fish municipal fishing vessels because that's the limit imposed by local government units. So it's estimated that three-fourths of our fishing grounds are overfished, and the major problem that's besotting our waters is the encroachment of commercial vessels within municipal waters. I've also listed some illegal fishing gears and methods, but I base this on a USAID fish rights ongoing study. I think this only covers a few municipalities in the central Philippines. Now I chose this because it's more updated, and because the central Philippines has more majority big majority of municipal fishers in the Philippines. So if you look at this table, you'll notice that blast fishing has the largest number of occurrences per month, followed by trawl fishing and fishing within MPAs or marine protected areas, which are supposedly no-take zones. So yeah. So I on the right portion of my presentation, you'll notice that I included like an FMA 01, 02, 06. The reason is because the the Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources, who handles our marine the enforcement of marine policies and programs, impose a new project that is focused on a more science-based approach to fishing
Mm,
management areas.
mm,
So more or less, these are the major fishing grounds in the Philippines, and they implemented it January last year. So they are currently at the process of doing capacity mapping and developing possible management systems. Um, yeah. So this is our situation during the pandemic. Right now, we just finished the 100 days under quarantine. The Philippines is considered to have one of the longest quarantine periods in the world. And I placed a timeline here so you have an idea
mm,
on basically the social situation
mm,
uh, at the moment. So starting March 15, we have what we call a community quarantine, which is semi-lockdown. Well, it didn't work. So after the following day, the government imposed an enhanced community quarantine or a full lockdown, wherein everyone works from home, all establishments were closed. You cannot move from intercity to inter-province, and all there's a ban on all domestic land, air, and sea travel. By May 1, some areas in the Philippines transitioned into an what we call a semi-lockdown or
mm,
a general community quarantine. And by May 15, that's when they introduce a laxer version of those. Right.
mm,
So why is this relevant for us to know? Because this lockdown exacerbates existing problems within our fishery sector. So in terms of access, transport technology, and the supply chain. So for every level of the supply chain or for every level of the process, our fisher folks, our small scale fisher folks encountered problems. So when the lockdown was imposed, small scale artisanal fishers were not allowed to fish. They can't go out to sea. And if you look at the demographics of Filipino fisher folks, they belong to the marginalized sector, um, and they depend on daily catch for their daily food and then for their daily spending. So when the lockdown started, they were not allowed to fish. So in some areas where they were allowed to fish, um, fisher folks realized that they don't have traders who will help them bring their produce to the market. So they have to figure out how to bring their fish catch to the market or the community fish landing centers. Now, when they reach those centers, the the major problem was that they lack ice storage facilities. And finally, if they are able to successfully bring it to the market or or find buyers, the prices are very low. So I included that. So the major thing to note as well is that the lockdown period coincides with the prime fishing season, which is the months of March to May. So in the left, you could see a VIRS screen cap screenshot of a program by Oceana Philippines in the Philippines. It's a partnership with the League of Municipalities. The Philippines has around like 1,400 municipalities, and 60 to 70% of those are in coastal areas. So the red dots are essentially illegal, supposedly commercial vessels, and the blue lines are those are the territories of municipal waters. And basically, the problem is commercial vessels are not allowed to enter municipal waters because the ships are too big, and they will end up destroying the coral reefs and the shallow um, and other species that thrive in those areas. But MPAs are normally also within municipal waters. So, according to Rare Philippines, who conducted like a survey among its partners, majority of them said that commercial vessels fishing within municipal waters was the major problem during the pandemic. And then they also received a lot of reports of fishing within marine protected areas. When it comes to the use of illegal fishing gears, according to BIFAR, the Danish Sen was had the most number of occurrences, and there is a sort of a resurgence of the use of fish poison in certain areas in Central Visayas. So when it comes to our reporting, so how were we affected? So like our fisher folks, we encountered mobility problems. The government required media to secure passes or IDs, which is understandable because because it's a high risk situation. When it comes to access, it's easier. It's not government data were hard to get. Were harder to get because most of them do not have um, internet versions. Most were locked away in offices, and it's hard to go to communities to get data that are only available in those areas. But interviews were easier to set. It's easier to call people. It's easier um, to talk to them, or easier to talk to scientists. Um, I think because everyone's at home and everyone's working from home, so they're more accessible. Um, we also had problems with reporter health and welfare. I've had, I think, three reporters telling me they were exposed to COVID-19 and they had to stay at home. These are frontline reporters. They are reporters who contribute to Monga Bay, but they also contribute to other media organizations in the Philippines. When it comes to, and lastly, I think we had problems with fact checking. It took us longer to verify information, especially if we get reports of, let's say, coral bleaching or crimes or abuses or attacks on, let's say, fisher folks in an area. Um, it took a while to get those information. And then lastly, where I end, what else could we report? So I asked Rare Philippines and Oceana because they've been very active on the ground and they have a long history of programs in the Philippines. And on the left, you'll see they suggested like stricter enforcement of existing fisheries laws as possible topics, to focus on municipal fishers instead of aquaculture and commercial fishers, efforts to solve the ice storage challenges, also news that maybe, on restoring critical ecosystems, finding the link between fisheries and marine conservation, and building climate resilience in the fishery sectors. So these were their recommendations as broad strokes or areas that reporters could look at. On my end, since we also commissioned stories from Monga Bay, I feel that these are the stories that would be interesting. I mean, they're more or less similar with what they mentioned, but these are more topic. So marine pollution, I think, is interesting, but the only problem is it's overreported. So if you have stories on marine pollution, it would be nice if you could find a different angle to that. Vessel monitoring systems, updated red list, and new species, muted groups, and for example, female fisher folks or female members of ocean patrol groups. That would be interesting, or IPs. And I think it would also be interesting to look at how DRR mechanisms are sort of fine-tuned or used during the pandemic, because we've heard of like provinces, certain provinces in the Philippines wherein they use, let's say, the alert systems in the in administering aid for during the pandemic. Industry plus fisheries, a nexus on those kind of stories is also interesting. I think Bonga Bay, Indonesia has started that with mining and fisheries. In the Philippines, we had stories on tourism and its impact on the fishery sector. And I think that combination is good because at the moment, the tourism sector is also badly hit by the pandemic. And of course, the politics of fish. There's a lot to discuss in that
Yeah.
area, and of yeah, and the supply chain. So if you go out of the border, the stories on the Sulu-Sulawesi Seascape project would be interesting because it's part of the Coral Triangle Initiative, which is supposed to be in its 10th year. Um, I'm not sure if last year or this year. And if you, if anyone would like to know more about marine reporting, they could check out the Internews or Journalism Networks Covering the Sea issue guide. I placed the link here, and if they have stories that they would want to share with us, they can email me leilani@mongabay.com. For Philippine stories and for non-Philippine stories, you can also go straight to submissions at Mongabay. And yes, that's that's
Thank
it.
you, Leilani, for
Thank
your
you.
presentation. It's really eye-opening. It's kind of like shocking for us to know that this destructive fishing and illegal fishing is still ongoing even during the pandemic. Especially, I highlighted your explanation about access to the data. I think it's the same thing that's happening in Indonesia,
Right.
especially during this lockdown. Our mobility is limited by the government, right? So we rely on technology to keep updated with,
Yes.
the real-time data, and also
Mhm.
because of the social or physical distancing protocols, we cannot
Yes.
just go covering the news on the ground. We can probably find more of these things from Mas Irfan explanation, who is gonna present his report after the second speakers, who is a researcher.
Hi,
She's
April, everyone.
hello, Ines. Thank you for joining us, Ines. Ines,
Sure.
what data or research that you can share with us about this condition, about this ongoing destruction during this pandemic after almost 3-4 months?
3-4 months. Yeah, sure. So recently, I did a research on more the broader impacts of COVID-19 pandemics on ocean economy in Indonesia, but a broader one. So in this presentation, I aim to deep dive and more focus on the destructive fishing parts. So yeah, I hope I can share that part with the audience.
Yeah, and Ines, maybe you can provide some more a bit details about your background and what you are doing right now.
Sure. Yeah. So, hello everyone. I hope everyone is safe and sound in your home. My name is Ines Estina. I'm a researcher for the Oceans Program at the World Resources Institute Indonesia. World Resources Institute is a think tank that aims to find a nexus between human well-being, environment, and economic development. So yeah, apart from doing research, I also did like program development, structuring concept, and really expanding the oceans program that is relatively new for WRI Indonesia. So I think, shall I start? Yeah.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, April. Okay. So good night, everyone. Again, my name is Ines Ayastina. I will share a little bit of, just a short one about sharing on how we could build back better amid the disruptive fishing amid COVID-19 pandemic in Indonesia. So, first I'm going to share a really quick about our approach. So our approach is really a reactive process that starts with looking at the data. followed by invoking changes through various approaches. Then once we found a solution that works, we scale it to give a bigger impact to the environment and the society. So, yeah, it's really just a glimpse of Indonesia Ocean. So Indonesia is the largest archipelagic in terms of population and size. We have the second longest coastline, and as well as together with the Philippines, we are located in the Coral Triangle, which is the most biodiverse place on marine place on Earth. We are home to more than 70% of coral and more than 65% of mangrove species, and having largest areas of both ecosystems. We are also the largest seafood producer, one of the largest, second for wild capture, and third for aquaculture. Despite all of that, we should know that coastal communities are our frontliners. Motorized vessels make up only 30% of our vessels, where 70% of those motorized vessels is under 5 GD. This really indicated the importance of small-scale fisheries. It was estimated more than 80% of fish catches is from small-scale fisheries. So yeah, that's really just a glimpse of Indonesia Ocean. So just like Philippines, we also have fisheries management areas or wilayah pengelolaan perikanan, usually abbreviated into WPP. So this is our fisheries management area. 4 fisheries management areas are overexploited, and another 5 fisheries management areas are fully exploited. This showing no opportunities for immediate expansion of production in this 9 out of 11. It's almost everything of the fisheries management areas. So this is a bit about the current status of Indonesia fisheries stock at each WPP or fisheries management areas, sourced from the Ministerial Regulation 50, number 50, 2017. As you can see that there is really scarce table colored yellow, which is moderately exploited. Most of the table is colored orange, fully exploited, or pink, overexploited. So yeah, if you wanna take a closer look on this stock status, you could see it in the Ministerial Regulation number 50, 2017. So yeah, I'm not going to talk a lot about this whole details of destructive fishing. I think there is really a lot of like names that anyone could recall for destructive fishing practice in Indonesia. There's really a lot of names, but I think there are like three main practice that are happening in Indonesia. First is the use of explosive, or commonly known as flash fishing. And second is the use of poison, or locally known as bias, or the most commonly used is cyanide fishing. And the third is the use of certain gears or technique that are detrimental to the environment, such as trawl that disturb the seabed or mesh size that are too small, as measures in the Ministerial Regulation number 71, 2016. So you might ask, like, why saying no to destructive fishing practice? Well, there is really a lot of reasons, but I outline like just the 3 main reasons. So the first one is the physical impacts to the environment, such as like marine habitat destruction. These destructions, if happening in the high value of coastal tourism in Indonesia, the impacts of flash fishing in the last 20 years, in the last 20 years, estimated from the year of 2000, so really 2000 and 2020, is estimated to be around $300,000 per kilometer square. So that is really a big number. And the second one is really the catch of like bycatch, undersize, and mortality of non-target species, ultimately threatening biodiversity, fish stock, and food chains in the long term. And the third one is actual physical damage and death of local fishermen result from use of explosives. So there are really many reasons to say no to destructive fishing practice, but these are like the 3 main reasons. So the next question to ask is really, why take a closer look on destructive fishing practice amid COVID-19 disruption. So as you can see in the previous slide, that destructive fishing practice alone has detrimental impacts to the human and the environment. Imagine if this is exacerbated by disruptions. And COVID-19 is not the only disruption to Indonesia oceans and beyond. There will be many other disruptions, including the climate crisis. So a report by IPCC in 2018 outlined many impacts to the oceans and beyond. Several of them is extreme heat, sea level rise, and further decline in coral reefs. So it's really important to really take a closer look of our fisheries. So in what ways that COVID-19 has impacted the destructive fishing? The really main impacts to destructive fishing is the challenges in monitoring and surveillance activities. Before COVID-19, there were many activities in coastal and marine areas that indirectly interact and were able to observe coastal and marine habitat. These activities are now hindered due to social and physical distancing policy, especially during the early days of pandemic outbreak in Indonesia. Those activities are coastal and marine-based tourism, divers, and as well as conservation areas monitoring. Tourism owners or operators claim that lack of activities increase destructive fishing practice in their area. Official also says that fishers are taking advantage of perceived drop in enforcement. Authorities have seized at least 19 foreign fishing boats since March 1, a day before the country reported its first confirmed COVID-19 cases. While this is related specifically not to IUU fishing, research indeed shows that IUU fishing is strongly correlated with destructive fishing practice. Why? Among others is because this IUU fishing is unregulated and is not monitored. Yeah. So there is this picture of vessel with Vietnam flag captured in Indonesia, courtesy of Mongo Bay and Amaya. Yeah, there is like or maybe more than 31 subject of destructive fishing captured within the last 2 months as of May 2020. So I collected the location based on multiple press. So destructive fishing really appears to be more prevalent in eastern Indonesia, where far lower human population lessen the chances of detection and capture by police patrol. This actually highlights the importance of surveillance in the eastern part of Indonesia. Why? Because the eastern part of Indonesia really have this pristine marine habitat, which could be threatened by future destructive fishing in the area. So what can we do to ensure that destructive fishing practice will not prevail during and after COVID-19 and other potential disruptions to ultimately sustaining our oceans? The first, we could build back better by really do enforcement through strengthened monitoring and surveillance. Indonesia has actually banned the practice of destructive fishing and implemented measure for specific fishing gears. Among others, through Law 31 2014, Jump to Law 45 2019, and Ministerial Regulation 71 2016. The key step will be to better enforce these regulations. Monitoring and surveillance activities plays an important role in making sure that this regulation could be enforced. So second is really avoid squandering post-COVID-19 fish. Leaving oceans resources literally grow during downturns. For example, during World War II, many fishing vessels were forced to stop fishing. This reprieve allowed fish population to increase. Should any such gains accrue during COVID-19, we must resist the urge to immediately over-harvest them. Instead, we should use fisheries science to design intelligent harvesting protocols that maximize the long-term benefit of any possible COVID-19 gains. Furthermore, if we take a closer look, there is really no need for fishermen to conduct destructive fishing in the first reason. And if the reason to harvest many fish in the low effort is not there in the first place. And number 3, so So within this panel, there are a lot of media experts. So I will just like share a little bit perspective from researcher point of view. So I think media plays an important role in raising public awareness issues. First, media plays an extremely important role, among others, by making a distant issues feels close to each individual human. For example, plastic waste issues. Maybe Leila says that plastic waste issue is overreported, but is one issue that the media succeed in raising public awareness. Few factors contributing to those are health, the issues of tangible, social media, and actionable. So I think the media expert within this panel could explain more about this than me. But I really want to highlight the second point, which are media has the advantage to introduce issues in a really timely manner. As a researcher, although we first really aim to search a peer-reviewed journal, if not a primary data, press publication is especially important to feature issues in a timely manner, ultimately making sure public are aware of the pressing issues responsibly. Yeah, so above all, research and science are important. However, in order for these findings and message to be able to really knocking on people's door and literally engage public to really care for the issues, media plays an undeniable important role that we, as a researcher and other stakeholders, anticipate from media experts. Thank you, everyone. So that is my presentation.
Thank you, Ines. That's very interesting. When you're talking about access to data, and remember the presentation earlier from Leilani saying that one of the problem issues that they're facing, the media facing in the Philippines itself, is the lack of data that's shared by the government. Not because the government doesn't share the data, but because one point, their lack of infrastructure, which is technology to share the data to the public. So probably by sharing your findings and data, it can just open up a new opportunity for us to collect with researcher to do fact checking. Also, Leilani mentioned before that it's kind of like difficult to fact checking all the findings that the journalists have found out on the ground, especially during this pandemic. That's really interesting. And also, I pinpoint your explanation about surveillance. Again, we see how important technology now, especially in Indonesia, with more than 13,000 islands across the country. It's very difficult to just, doing everything manually, especially the activities at the oceans. Thanks so much, Ines. And we we go to the next speaker. We have Irfan Imamshah. So familiar with me because we are working together.
Yeah.
Hi, Mas Irfan. Thank you for joining us. Can you share a bit about your background to our audience?
Yeah, we are in the same floor and different room, right, April?
Yeah.
Hi all. Nice to see you all at this night. And I'm Irfan. I'm a journalist from the CNN Indonesia TV. And before I'm joined to the CNN, I work for KBR Indonesia. In my presentation, I will focusing on I try to seek more than what the government try to manage the marine and fisheries industry in Indonesia. So the title of my presentation is Indonesia to Allow Back Destructive Practices Fisheries. Mas Krishna can help me to next. Yes. Before I speak, I tell about my presentation about the destructive fishing. I just want to updating to you the number of COVID is still increased in Indonesia. For today is positive case is about 49 thousands, and then people can help in 19,000, and die is about 2,500 more. I think until now the government is has a lot of problem to find the solution of the about the COVID-19. And next, please. This is just illustration that from Wuhan to all over the world. In December, I heard from the media the first case in Wuhan and then spreading to the all over the world. And Indonesia have three it's like three traffic line from Wuhan to Indonesia that bring from the tourists that going to Indonesia. But next, but the COVID-19 is very has an impact on media works. In January in January and February, government of Indonesia seems have underestimating. I remember that how the Ministry of Health say to the press the COVID-19 is nothing, and then he suggests the Indonesia people to push the body immune to stand with COVID-19. And then because of that, government is led in carrying out policy response and concrete action. And in January and March, worsening working condition, less understanding on safety protocol on COVID-19 for media. Media practitioner in Indonesia doesn't know anything about COVID-19, how to work in pandemic. And the February onwards, most media shift their focus on COVID-19, and then other issue might be ignored. And seems like government's office, the number of journalists employed is very limited. In CNN Indonesia, I can share that it's only 30% our journalists work for covering the issue, and 70 more is stay at home, or maybe we know that working from home, and then there's a number of issue is not properly covered or even escape the media spotlight. Next, and I will going to the borders in Indonesia. This is maritime boundaries between Indonesia and its neighbor. This is based on UN Convention of the Law of the Sea in 1982. Next. Yes, the OCI before is already mentioned that Indonesia is the second largest fish producer in the world. And what happened in Indonesia seas and beyond, I will ask the Mas Krishna, please play this video. This is a global forest watch, global fishing watch platform. This is using satellite and data map. If Mas Krishna can play the recording, I can show you the fish activity is still happen in Indonesia. Early January, fishing activities mostly took place in Micronesia region, is near Papua and Philippines, and Pacific Sea and south of China Sea is very active, and fishing activity were massive ahead of March to April, particularly in Anambas region near South China Sea and North Sea of Java, Arafuru Sea to near Indonesia border with Philippines. This all sourced from Global Fishing Watch. I'm always use this platform to monitor fish vessel in Indonesia and the neighborhood. And then in the first quarter in 2020, 44 foreign fishing vessels arrested for illegal and destructive fishing. This is sourced from the Ministry of Maritime Affairs and Fisheries in March, when the COVID-19 being pandemic all over the world. Next. This is the January to June. I think next. Yeah. Global for Fishing Watch is I'm using this platform by applying a various filter. It's such as fishing activity, type of vessel, type of fishing gear, to the countries of origin such as Indonesia, the Philippines, Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam, China, and China Taipei. Next. Yes. In Global Fishing Watch, I saw that fishing activities is still active, but in Indonesia, export performance is falling since destination countries have progressively closed their borders, and fish workers along supply chains, both in domestic and international market, are affected financially. In addition, fish demand is also decreasing since people tend to stay at home. Like me and my family, my wife and my son is already at home about 3 months until now. And this leads to main problems: abundance of supply, or maybe near close to overfishing, and reduced market access. For last week, I called my friend. She's a fisher from the Natuna, and I asked him to how much money they spend to going catch fishing in Natuna. For 20 gross ton fishing vessel requires a capital of around 200 million rupiah to operate for 2 weeks. This is the source, my friend from the Natuna. And the next, from him, I have a amateur video. He's recorded activity from the vessel from the Vietnam. He said it to me that there's at that time there's 6 vessel from Vietnam, and then its mean is like 12 vessel, because for one team vessel is always used 2 vessel for catching the fish in Natuna. And then this is the challenges facing fishery sector in Indonesia. Illegal fishing is still there in March, and then until June it still happen. And then I didn't know if the transshipment is already happen too, maybe because the model of transshipment is going to outside Indonesia. So for example, there's a vessel from Thailand, and she passed away Indonesia Ocean to take the fish, to catch the fish, and then the transshipment is maybe will be going to Micronesia islands. And destructive fishing gear through Phuket is very now our government still want to activate it through the fisher to using troll. And then, the last week I joined meeting with the fisher traditional, and all of them committed to reject the policy. And then beside the troll, government of Indonesia is planned to reopen export for lobster seeds. But the critic says it will be threaten a population of wild lobster that are crucial for healthy marine ecosystem. New minister ended the policy of sinking illegal fishing boat, even though it gave a deterrent effect to those operating illegal fishing vessel. And this is a big problem for the next presentation is limited patrol fleet. Indonesia is only have 378 units, including 154 ships operate at monitoring ports, and 39 ships are 5 Marine Guard bases. 2/3 of Indonesia territory is the sea. It's about 6.4 million kilometer, and it has a second largest coastline in the world. It's about 108,000 kilometers. With increasing threat that have been continuously confronting Indonesia, government have to renew maritime strategy and policy. Next. This is the Vietnam fishing vessel. This is from my friend in Natuna Sea. For the right video is taken by 31 December 2019, and then the video at the left is June 13, 2020. So from the December and until June, foreign vessels still coming to Indonesia Ocean. That's what I want to talk about it. Next. And this is the model IUU fishing practices in Indonesia and still happen. Document falsification is about license and catch record, and fishing without license. And then my source in KKP, or Maritime Affairs and Fisheries, already told me that there's a new modus like a new model that fishers fishing vessel modification without permitted. It's like change the engines from the like 100 gross ton, and then the markdown to the 25 gross ton, and it still happens in Indonesia. And government is try to analyze that how much practitioner, how much the vessel change the engine or replace the call sign is. And double flagging is still happen too with double register, and the activation of facial transmitter identification system, and illegal transshipment at the sea, and using prohibited fishing gears. Next. Now, what can a journalist do now? I only share my suggestion, safety first, and relearn how to stay safe and fit, especially on risk assessment, safe communication with source when in the same physical space, digital communication tool. I always use available data, digital platform monitoring for IUU fishing practices. It's like Global Fishing Watch, Marine Traffic, and NASA Satellite, and Satu Data. And this is the the cara lama, or is classic way the journalists can maximizing citizen journalism report, use generate content, and we can use tools at the opening section, and then continue to deep dive and fact check the news. And I think the journalist is also must to learn skill of verification to identify false or misleading of data. Um, Communication choice matters more than before. Establish media collaboration with relevant groups in order to generate comprehensive and credible news. I suggestion that media work together with the GSO and then research institute to take the issue and focusing on one issue. To push the issue is like IUU fishing can blow up in media, but with good research. So CSO and media can share the data, can share information, and work together. To continue media role to provide deep, balanced, and credible news in IUU fishing practices. This is I offer maybe I have a good experience for collaborating with others media, maybe 5 or 3 media to collaborate in one issue, and I think the impact is will be good because it's not only one media can play the role, but it's more one media can share the news to the others. I think that's my presentation. Sorry if my English is very bad.
Thank you so much, Mas Irfan. A very comprehensive report. According to your presentation, the other issues that we are facing right now is changing policies. The government needs to find a way to an approach to make sure that the law enforcement is on the ground, and also to make sure that they can build proper infrastructure. Actually, like you said, limited patrol fleet, only 387 units, where 2 or 3 territory of Indonesia is sea. Is really shocking. So we need the government to pay more attention to this. Okay, for all the speakers, you know what? I don't know if it's a good news or bad news for you guys, because our Facebook at America Facebook question flooding to our Facebook because the audience seems very interested in your presentation. But I'm going only to choose like a few questions because we have a very limited time left. But before I choose the questions from the audience sent to our Facebook at America, we're gonna have special testimony from a special guest all the way from South Sulawesi, Mas Baim. Hi, Mas Baim. Thank you for joining us.
Ya.
Halo, selamat malam, Mas Baim.
Halo, Mbak.
Ya, halo, Mas Baim, bisa dengar suara saya?
Dengan jelas, Mbak.
Baik, Mas Baim, gimana Mas Baim melihat apa yang terjadi selama pandemi ini? Apa yang perlu disampaikan selama kurang lebih kita ada kebijakan lockdown, kemudian tetapi keadaan laut sampai saat ini pun tidak membaik. Apa yang ingin disampaikan malam ini, Mas?
Oke, baik, Mbak April, terima kasih. Setelah menyimak dengan baik teman-teman yang memberikan informasi terkait apa yang jadi batasan, pikir kalau Mbak mungkin akan lebih ke di dalam negerinya, Mbak.
Baik.
Perikanan di dalam negeri Indonesia ini relatif adalah nelayan-nelayan kecil yang hampir tidak terpengaruh dengan isu COVID. Artinya aktivitas perikanan itu terus terus dilakukan. Penangkapan ikan juga terus sampai saat ini, walaupun pemerintah ada lockdown atau ada pembatasan-pembatasan, nelayan Indonesia masih, khususnya yang di dalam negeri itu, masih tetap melakukan aktivitas penangkapan ikan. Ya hal itu mungkin lebih melihat kebutuhan masyarakat lokal untuk yang pertama, kemudian ya walaupun kebutuhan ekspor itu sangat menurun secara drastis, baik itu ikan hidup atau ikan fresh, karena beberapa negara menutup ekspor sesuai yang Mbak siapa tadi kalau nggak salah, Mbak Ines atau Om Irfan kali ya di presentasinya itu, yang menjelaskan terkait ada beberapa negara yang menutup pasar ekspor. Tapi nelayan Indonesia khususnya yang ada di Sulawesi Selatan itu sama sekali tidak mengalami
terpengaruh
perubahan.
ya.
Ya, kecuali memang harga ikan yang mempengaruhi pendapatan nelayan itu sendiri. Saya pikir lebih berpengaruh ke hasil pendapatan masing-masing nelayan. Karena sebelum pandemi mungkin bisa dapat 2 juta selama 2 hari melaut. Pada saat pandemi ini tinggal dapat 700.000 sampai 500.000 lah per 2 hari. Itu perbandingan yang saat ini ada di Sulawesi Selatan, seperti itu. Akhir.
Baik, Mas Baim.
Halo.
Sorry Mas Irfan, boleh bicara dengan Mas Baim dulu untuk sementara sambil kita menunggu Mbak April mengenai data-data di lapangan di Sulawesi Selatan. Terima kasih.
Jelas Mas Baim ya?
Ya, siap.
Ya, memang situasi seperti itu Mas Baim. Jadi sebetulnya kayak Kesatuan Nelayan Tradisional juga bikin survei, mereka punya member sampai 30 provinsi dan mereka menyatakan hal yang sama sebetulnya, bahwa mereka tetap menangkap ikan, tapi ikannya nggak laku. Lalu mereka juga kesulitan untuk mengakses tempat pelelangan ikan ya, karena memang harga ikan jatuh, mereka juga agak ragu untuk menjual ikan di sana, dan problem yang terjadi adalah itu. Tapi di layar yang presentasi tadi sebetulnya bisa diputar, itu rekaman video satelit yang menandakan bahwa pada periode pandemik dari menjelang Maret hingga akhir April, itu justru aktiviti melaut itu sangat tinggi sekali. Konsentrasinya memang lebih besar di Laut Arafura ya, dan juga di kawasan sekitar antara Sulawesi dan Maluku Utara. Itu sangat tinggi sekali. Kalau di Jawa memang jumlah populasi nelayannya lebih banyak tentu saja daripada jumlah nelayan yang ada di wilayah lain. Tapi yang menarik itu sebetulnya banyak 70% nelayan tradisional itu kan banyak kan 70% mesinnya hanya sekitar 5 GT ya. Dan kapasitas melautnya juga nggak bisa jauh, terus kemampuan menangkap ikan juga tidak banyak gitu. Makanya kemarin mereka sebetulnya berkumpul, terus mereka menyatakan komitmen dengan tegas bahwa mereka menolak wacana pemberlakuan troll atau pukat yang digagas oleh Menteri Kelautan dan Perikanan yang baru ini. Itu yang terjadi. Jadi ada 2 meeting yang saya ikuti dan mereka menyatakan hal yang sama gitu. Dan terakhir adalah kalau seperti di Natuna nggak ada pengepul ikan yang mau menampung ikan, karena mereka juga khawatir Malaysia dan Singapura tidak bisa menerima ikan dari mereka karena ada lockdown. Itu yang terjadi di Natuna. Jadi sekarang periode April Juni ini mereka hanya wait and see gitu, kumpulkan modal, terus mereka mulai masuk lagi untuk melaut, tapi tidak masif gitu. Itu bisa dilihat di citra satelit sih sebetulnya. Yang saya belum tangkap itu adalah irisan antara General Santos Filipina dengan Bitung. Itu kan dulu aktivitas melautnya kan cukup tinggi ya. Pada 2015 sempat terhenti karena memang ada kebijakan Menteri Susi, dan sekarang dimulai era 2018-2019 udah mulai tumbuh lagi seperti sedia kala. Nah, apakah aktivitinya masih dengan cara yang sama, misalnya dua kewarganegaraan gitu, karena mereka kan bilang warga sapi ya, Sangihe Filipin gitu kan. Nah, itu juga jadi masalah itu soal itu. Dan informan saya juga di Maluku Utara bilang juga kayaknya warga sapi itu memang banyak dipilih karena mereka tahu di mana tuna itu berada. Itu yang karena mereka punya pengalaman yang sangat lama ya untuk mendeteksi keberadaan tuna gitu, dan makanya tenaga kerja mereka jauh lebih mahal daripada tenaga kerja yang asal Indonesia itu. Biasanya mereka dapat upah lebih tinggi ya. Yeah.
Thank you for your explanation, Mas Irfan.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry for technical issue, guys. Just now, Mas Baim actually explained to us that traditional fishermen in South Sulawesi actually are not really affected by the COVID-19 pandemic because they're actually not catching fish in large scale. And maybe one of the problem, the issues that the small communities facing in South Sulawesi is the price of the fish, because during the COVID-19 pandemic, less people go to the sea to catch fish, so it affects the price in the market. But Mas Baim also share a bit about his experience. Mas Baim ini kan seorang konservasionis ya, Mas Baim?
Ya, Mbak.
Mas Baim, before we talk about more about the destructive fishing practices, I would like to ask Mas Baim, because he is a conversionist in South Sulawesi. We have an interesting questions for you. Is there any successful program that you've ever conducted with the society or the communities in South Sulawesi to protect our environment? Seperti apa, Mas? Apa ada program-program kepada mungkin nelayan-nelayan kecil di sana terkait bagaimana memberdayakan sumber daya alam, khususnya laut itu secara bijak?
Oke, Mbak April, terima kasih. Jadi sebelumnya mungkin kami dari WCS itu bekerjasama dengan Balai Taman Nasional Takabonerate Rate, di mana Taman Nasional Takabonerate Rate itu memang memiliki jumlah nelayan yang sangat banyak dan memang bergantung kepada sumber daya alam, khususnya bidang perikanan tangkap, terus lagi ke perikanan karang. Nah, karena beberapa tahun terakhir ini memang aktivitas ekstraktif itu lumayan tinggi, akhirnya kami sesuai dengan hasil survei ekologi, survei sosial ekonomi yang telah kami lakukan sebanyak 2 kali itu, memang aktivitas pengawasan berbasis masyarakat yang kami terus tingkatkan, yaitu merangkul masyarakat mitra Polhut dalam hal ini. Kalau karena Taman Nasional itu sama dengan kalau di luar Taman Nasional Pokmaswas, kelompok masyarakat pengawas. Jadi kami merangkul teman-teman pengawas dari masyarakat melakukan pengawasan secara partisipatif terkait kegiatan-kegiatan nelayan di Kabupaten Kepulauan Selayar, khususnya di dalam Taman Nasional Takabonerate Rate, di mana seperti yang kita ketahui bersama bahwa Taman Nasional Takabonerate Rate itu memiliki target konservasi di bagian terumbu karang dan beberapa spesies yang hampir punah itu yang jaga. Jadi memang kaitannya dengan destructive fishing atau kegiatan perikanan yang merusak, kalau itu terus terjadi, saya pikir benteng terakhir untuk perikanan di Sulawesi Selatan akan habis juga, Mbak. Seperti itu. Jadi memang kita basisnya lebih ke masyarakat dan bekerja sama dengan pengelola kawasan Taman Nasional Takabonerate itu sendiri.
Baik, Mas Baim, terima kasih atas penjelasannya. For all the speakers, I'm going to choose 2 or 3 questions coming from our audience, representing the country from the Philippines and also the Indonesia. I will choose randomly here. We got lots of questions coming in our Facebook. First, this is very interesting. Maybe Inesa can help us to answer this. This is from Jera Maidenega from the Philippines. Hi, Jera. Thank you for sending your questions. How can we help fishermen and at the same time the marine life?
Thank you very much, Mbak April, and the question from J Maya. So this is really an interesting question. So how can we help fishermen and at the same time marine life? Is this in the context of specific COVID-19 pandemic, Mbak April?
You can elaborate with the pandemic or in general.
Okay. So the main thing that we can do as a citizen to help fishermen and at the same time protect marine life is obviously buy a sustainable source fish. By buying the sustainable source fish, not the one that is catch from destructive fishing, you are helping this fisherman to get a proper livelihoods and at the same time encourage sustainability in sourcing and fishing fish. So that is obviously the first main thing we can do as a consumer. And the second thing is maybe more on the how we ensure and be aware of conservation areas of Indonesia. So things such as not using plastic bag, or like if we ever got to go to coastal tourism areas again, so make sure that you really care for the environment, making sure that you use a coral friendly sunblock, things like that. So I guess that is my short answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Ines. Next questions from Kalesti Brown from the Philippines. This is interesting. So I think Mas Irfan can provide the answer for us. How can we use media to help the fishermen? Usually this is traditional fishermen who are affected in this pandemic.
Yeah, April, I think that's a good question for me. But I believe that media can play the role for covering or helping traditional fishers, yeah. Because I have aim on my journalist work is voices menyuarakan mereka yang tidak bisa bersuara, dalam bahasa Inggrisnya seperti itu kurang lebihnya. Voices of voiceless. I think this is important. The traditional fishers must have a lot of more space on newsroom because the narration is always being dominated by the government or the other side. I think people is never talk too much because they don't have the access, and that the task of a journalist to seek them and then get the information from them. It's like I always contact my colleagues in Natuna or maybe in North Maluku, North Malacca, because I think I believe they can share a lot of information, and I will create writing that information and then spread to my media. It's always like that. I know a lot of traditional fishers because I join with the food sector issue like fisheries. This is very, very important. So I think the media should be show up and work bekerja dengan lebih baik itu untuk menangkap semua itu.
Alright.
Dan itu menjadi penting. Porsi yang besar untuk mereka dan pemerintah bisa ditekan dengan menyuarakan suara-suara mereka.
Thank you, Mas Irfan. And next questions, we still have time. From Gino Dayanan from Indonesia, I think Leila can help us with this questions. This is very interesting, especially by published articles that are also probably aiming to attract or to raise awareness of the youth. In what specific role can we do as a youth to lessen the problem?
Lessen the problem on marine pressures, or
lessen the problem in marine exploitation.
That's very interesting. There's actually a lot of efforts that the youth could do. I have a contributor, a writer, who's doing a story on citizen science and how it's being used to, let's say, identify coral bleach, the level of damages that corals experience in a bleaching event. So there are a lot of efforts that the youth can participate in. You go to your communities and you look for those kinds of efforts. Because it's always important. Sorry, let me rephrase. The thing with the youth is you have access to technologies, and those technologies are what's useful in conservation efforts at the moment. So I suggest going to your local communities and asking for those kinds of solutions. I mean, the case of Indonesia will be different from the case of the Philippines. I can name a lot of probably efforts in the Philippines, but in Indonesia, I'm not very familiar. Sorry.
Yeah. Thank you for your answer, Leila. Okay, this is good news for our audience, both in Indonesia and the Philippines, because we're going to extend our event for the next 15 minutes, because it seems like this topic is very interesting, that people keep giving us many questions that they are curious about. Hopefully the speakers can help you guys to find out the answers. I'm going to choose another questions coming from Arlene Aranzazo from the Philippines. Hi, Arlene. Maybe this Mas Ifan, as an IAG member, Society of Indonesian Environmental Journalists, can help us with this. How big is the impact of the media to end destructive practices in fishing, especially in Indonesia? Because there are several different cases, like what Leilani said before. What about in Indonesia specifically? Mas Irfan, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Saya kira media memiliki peran yang sangat penting untuk menyampaikan informasi terkait dengan kegiatan-kegiatan menangkap ikan yang sangat-sangat tidak ramah dan tidak lestari. Dan hanya saja memang berita-berita seperti illegal fishing, lalu penggunaan boom untuk menangkap ikan dan sebagainya itu jarang sekali muncul. dan bahkan pada era Menteri Kelautan dan Perikanan sebelumnya saja baru muncul, itu pun lebih banyak fokus di tentang illegal fishing. Padahal ada banyak kejahatan-kejahatan penangkapan ikan yang dilakukan, tidak hanya illegal fishing tentu saja, seperti yang dijelaskan teman dari WRI tadi gitu, bahwa ada cyanida gitu, using cyanide, and then bomb, and then we must close, maybe more close together to share that information, agar orang-orang bisa banyak tahu bahwa ikan yang mereka makan mungkin saja itu adalah hasil dari kejahatan gitu, dan mungkin saja itu juga menjadi tidak sehat gitu loh, karena pangan yang mereka makan justru didapat dengan hasil yang merusak di kawasan itu. Sepertinya media punya peran untuk mendekatkan isu tentang kerusakan lingkungan, dalam hal ini menangkap ikan dengan cara yang tidak baik, itu dekat dengan konsumennya. Jadi media punya peran untuk membangun kesadaran agar konsumen itu bisa lebih melek, lebih sadar bahwa mereka harus tahu pangan yang mereka makan itu sumbernya dari mana, dan itu menjadi hal yang penting sebetulnya. Banyak teman-teman juga mempromosikan hal itu, karena seperti cerita misalnya jangan gunakan baju merek ini atau sampo merek itu karena itu berasal dari sumber yang tidak ramah lingkungan. Saya kira edukasi untuk masyarakat soal itu menjadi sangat penting, dan media punya peran penting untuk menyampaikan itu ke masyarakat agar mereka sadar. Tapi tahu persoalannya itu menjadi hal yang sangat penting, karena kalau kita tidak mengetahui sama sekali, masyarakat tidak akan tahu apa yang harusnya mereka tahu terkait dengan kejahatan-kejahatan di sektor perikanan ini.
So basically, be a smart and wise buyer to know where exactly the product that you are buying is coming from, so it can raise awareness about how to deal with this issue. And next, Mas Baim, this is a very interesting question actually. Ini menarik banget. Sebelumnya saya juga tanyakan, ternyata ada yang bertanya lagi, namanya Lee Albert. Lee Albert, hi Lee, from Indonesia. Many fishing practices are destructive to delicate habitats, particularly vital fish breeding grounds like coral reefs and seagrass meadows. What are the government or private institution precautionary measures on these destructive fishing practices? Any success story or programs that you can share to us? Jadi Mas Baim ini kan sudah bekerja di WCS sejak 2015, Mas. Apa saja cerita sukses dari program-program yang WCS sudah pernah jalankan di Sulawesi Selatan khususnya?
Baik, terima kasih Mbak April. Jadi kalau mau cerita terkait sukses, mungkin kita nggak bisa sukses sendiri, Mbak April. Sukses itu mungkin bisa dicapai dengan kerjasama yang baik dengan beberapa instansi pemerintah yang ada di Kabupaten Selayar, kementerian, KKP, Kementerian Lingkungan Hidup, dan beberapa instansi penegak hukum lainnya, sehingga ada beberapa keberhasilan yang walaupun belum maksimal, karena kegiatan destructive fishing yang mimpi besarnya kami baik di pengelola kawasan taman nasional, mimpi besar di teman-teman PSDKP yang ada di Selayar itu, DF di Sulawesi Selatan bisa 0, cuman itu adalah mimpi besarnya semua instansi yang ada, yang berkaitan, yang ada di Sulawesi Selatan khususnya, dan pada umumnya di Indonesia. Yang keberhasilan yang kami anggap keberhasilan bersama itu adalah bisa menurunkan aktivitas pembiusan ikan yang ada di Sulawesi Selatan, tapi lebih terkhusus ke Selayar. Itu karena kerjasama dengan Balai Taman Nasional Takabonerate, Dinas Kelautan Perikanan Kabupaten Kepulauan Selayar, PSDKP, Polres Selayar, dan juga teman-teman dari Polair, Polda Sulsel, itu karena kerjasama yang baik sehingga aktivitas menangkap ikan dengan menggunakan cyanida itu atau racun itu bisa menurun sekitar 35% dibanding 45 tahun sebelum tahun ini. Jadi ada beberapa langkah bersama lah yang kami tempuh, mengumpulkan informasi, mengatur strategi bersama dengan instansi-instansi terkait. Itu pun setelah menjalani pertemuan-pertemuan yang walaupun awalnya sangat sulit kami lakukan, tapi alhamdulillah seiring berjalannya waktu semakin memperkuat persamaan persepsi, alhamdulillah bertahap bisa ke arah itu. Jadi mimpi besarnya kami tetap DF0 untuk di layar pada umumnya dan khususnya di Sulawesi Selatan dan kalau bisa memang seluruh Indonesia ini.
Persentase penurunan penggunaan racun sendiri itu setelah adanya pendekatan-pendekatan dari WCS itu seperti apa, Mas? Berapa persen misalnya turunnya secara konkret?
Kalau bukan WCS sendiri sih, Mbak, sebenarnya.
Ya, kolaborasi dengan
beberapa instansi yang ada di Selayar dan Sulawesi Selatan pada umumnya. Itu kalau Mbak Im akan menyebutkan angkanya, dari angka 300 armada bisa menurun ke 120 armada atau 150 armada, tinggal itu yang... Itu
dalam berapa lama, Mas Baim, pendekatannya sampai ada penurunan?
3 tahun.
3 tahun, wow. Ya. Waktu yang cukup panjang ya?
Lumayan panjang, Pak.
Yeah. Okay, so basically, Mas Baim telling us that one of the success story of WCS program is the decreasing number of fish poisoning in South Sulawesi Sea, because they provide an approach to the traditional fishermen to decrease the number, how they raise awareness that how dangerous these practices are. So after 3 years of doing campaign, approaching the fishermen, and then doing collaborations with local institutions and communities, they succeed to decrease the number of the ships, ya, dari 300 ya Mas, jadi 120. So yeah. It was reported about 300 vessels using fish poisoning. Now it's decreasing to 120 or 150 after 3 years of hard work. Thank you, Mas Baim. And I think this is Mas Irfan and also Leila. Very interesting questions from Imelda Fisaya. She asks, what are the challenges journalists from the Philippines and Indonesia face in reporting the damage or protection of coral reef, and also the destruction in our environment? Probably it will be different because there are different law and regulation in both countries, but maybe you can elaborate your answers. Mas Irfan.
Saya kira tantangan ke depan adalah bagaimana menyampaikan informasi terkait dengan kerusakan terumbu karang. Kita tahu Indonesia adalah masuk dalam kawasan segitiga terumbu karang terbesar di dunia, dan itu sebetulnya adalah potensi yang harusnya diturunkan. Hanya saja kadang beberapa teman-teman di media tidak pernah bisa mencoba menghubungkan antara manusia dengan cerita terumbu karang. Saya kira hubungan antara manusia dengan terumbu karang itu harus dikaitkan, sehingga mereka tahu bahwa apa yang terjadi dengan terumbu karang akan berdampak terhadap kehidupan manusia. Itu yang penting, yang harus diberitakan dengan pola itu. Tapi dalam kesempatan ini justru saya ingin mengajak bahwa apakah mungkin gitu media dengan beberapa media, baik Indonesia dengan Philippine atau sesama Indonesia dan sebagainya, untuk berkolaborasi dalam sebuah isu liputan yang sama, tentu saja agar lebih berdampak. Karena kalau 1-2 media memberitakan mungkin akan didengar sebelah telinga, Tapi kalau diberitakan oleh bersama-sama secara simultan, mungkin akan memberikan dampak yang lebih bagus lagi kepada para pembuat kebijakan.
Baik, Mas Irfan. So Leila, basically, Irfan said that it is important to do collaborations to provide more accurate, comprehensive report to the readers, audience about what's going on exactly. So the report can be more useful because it's relevant to both countries. What story do you have from the Philippines about this issue?
I agree. We should talk more. We should discuss more. Definitely, Indonesia and the Philippines have different policies. I think in a way Indonesia is more advanced on a policy level because you have a ministry of fisheries, right? But in the Philippines we have only a bureau. But so anyway, but the point is, I think yes, and there are platforms that we could do that. We have like the Sulawesi Seascape Project and the Coral Triangle initiatives. And I believe the Philippines and Indonesia has an existing fishing access agreement for tuna, right? Yeah. So for local, I think it's one of the biggest challenge for marine reporters is data, updated data. Sometimes it gets frustrating because there are new studies, but it can't be released because of bureaucracy. So I think it's very important to lessen that gap between how do we as journalists access those information so we could report as accurately as we can. And I think number two is I'd like to raise maybe a little shift in perspective. When we talk about illegal fishing, it's not a new problem. It's been there for 50 years, 60 years, right? I mean, to the point that it gets tiring in a way.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a new issue. So it's important for me, it's important to look at it beyond an enforcement problem, but to also look at what practices are there, what best practices are there that could be replicated from one area to another. So, for example, what practices in Indonesia could be replicated in the Philippines, or what programs in the Philippines could be replicated in Indonesia. And I think COVID-19 is a good period to evaluate those programs and see which worked and which doesn't work.
Thank you, Leila and Mas Irfan. Next, Ines, this is a question coming from Rafael Tan from the Philippines. Wow, our audience in the Philippines are really, really excited about this issue. So, because we're dealing with a, current updates, research data, and even maybe policies, global or even regional policies. These questions, I think, is very relevant with what you are doing right now. Since both are part of ASEAN, do the organization crafted laws protecting marine life? If so, is it strictly implemented within the region? Do you have any data or research about this that you can share with us?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Rafael Tan from the Philippines. Thank you very much for your question. So, as for ASEAN, I think it's not really emphasized on the scale of ASEAN. I think Leila and I also already mentioned, and maybe other speakers already mentioned, the scale of Coral Triangle. So there are these 5 countries within the ASEAN and also Papua New Guinea in the Pacific, Asia Pacific, who are members of this Coral Triangle Initiative. This Coral Triangle Initiative has this most biodiverse marine habitat in the area. So so we have the secretariat, which currently led by some government officials secondary to the Coral Triangle Initiative, with the secretariat in North Sulawesi in Manado, I think. And this Coral Triangle Initiative has these regular meetings to update the conditions, or exactly what Leila said before, that we really exchange best practice from this Coral Triangle countries. Like for Philippines, for example, the Philippines have some kind of best practice that Indonesia could replicate, or likewise, otherwise. And I think these are the initiatives and the policies that I want to highlight. So this collaboration between the members of Coral Triangle initiatives within the area of the most biodiverse countries in the world. Yeah, so I want to highlight that, I think.
Thank you for such an informative explanation. I think that's the last questions for today's event. And before I close this discussion, I would like to ask all the speakers to give us a closing statement about this issue, about how this destructive fishing practices during COVID-19 pandemic, and how media plays an important role to fight against this. Maybe starting from Mas Irfan Imamsyah, your closing statement. Please unmute your mic.
Ya, saya akan cepat. Saya berpikir bahwa akan sangat penting untuk melibatkan masyarakat untuk menjaga wilayah yang memang menjadi kawasan lindung, ya. Dalam hal ini mungkin daerah sekitar segitiga terumbu karang. Itu menjadi sangat penting, karena kalau bukan mereka yang menjaga, kita bisa lihat bahwa pemerintah tidak punya kapasitas yang cukup untuk menjaga pangan kita di sana. Jadi sekali lagi, dekat dengan mereka dan beri kesadaran ke mereka bahwa mereka bisa menjaga kawasan itu, dan saya kira itu akan bisa menjadi model yang cukup bagus untuk bisa diterapkan di kawasan lain. Karena setiap negara punya kapasitas yang berbeda, dan Indonesia saya kira nggak punya kapasitas yang cukup untuk menjaga kawasan lindungnya.
So the government capacity is not enough to deal with this issue. So we need to get local communities to get involved fighting against these destructive practices. Thank you, Mas Irfan. And Leila from the Philippines, can you share with us your closing statement?
Yeah, sure. I think as media, it's very important that we go beyond what's the obvious. So we have to look at stories, not just on why people commit or why small-scale fishers commit acts that are illegal, but also what motivates those actions. I think those stories are not well reported. So we have opportunities to look at those areas. And the good thing is that nowadays we have groups that support these kinds of initiatives. For once, Monga Bay, we publish a lot of science-based and conservation stories, so we can work together for stories that link fisheries and conservation. And the Internews Journalism Network provides small grants for individual journalists to report on marine reporting. So to report on marine issues. So yes, let's work together. Let's use our powers and our interest on this topic to elevate the discourse on illegal fishing and the fisheries sector.
Thank you, Leila. Thank you, Leila. Next, Ines.
Thank you very much, April. So as you can see, maybe throughout my presentation, you would see the hashtag Build Back Better. So I think this pandemic posed an important position for us human to reform our business as usual towards bluer practice in marine ecosystems management, including destructive fishing, and really to be able to build back better. As my second slide towards the end said, that research and science are important. However, in order for these findings and message to be able to knocking on people's door, these people won't read peer-reviewed journal, right? So media plays an undeniable important role that we, as a researcher and their stakeholders, anticipates from media experts. So that is my last remark.
So
Thank you.
are you actually saying that you are looking forward to collaboration between WRI, Mongabay, and also CNN Indonesia TV to make an in-depth report on this issue?
Yeah, that sounds really interesting.
Count me in, count me in.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, that sounds really interesting.
All right, thanks so much, Ines. And also, Mas Baim, kami mau minta sebagai penutup dari agenda diskusi ini, apa yang Mas Baim ingin sampaikan kepada pendengar kita malam ini?
Oke, baik, terima kasih Pak Abdul. Yang saya ingin sampaikan adalah nelayan adalah pahlawan protein bangsa Indonesia ini dan tidak menutup kemungkinan manusia-manusia yang ada di bumi. Dan ekosistem yang sehat adalah modal awal untuk nelayan kita mulai hidup, mulai dari kecil sampai besar, dan bahkan dengan ekosistem yang sehat semua akan berjalan dengan baik, mulai dari keluarga nelayan itu sendiri, baik untuk kebutuhan pendidikan, baik untuk kebutuhan kesehatan mereka, dan seluruh kaitannya dengan kehidupan masyarakat. Pikir ekosistem yang sehat adalah satu-satunya kunci. Mari menjaga bersama. Terima kasih, Pak Abdul.
Terima kasih. WCS said just now that healthy ecosystem, healthy nature is an important factor to guarantee a better livelihood for everyone in the city, even like in urban or in South Sulawesi is one of the places in Indonesia that most of the people working as a fisherman. Thank you so much for your time, all the panelists. And it's such an eye-opening explanation by the experts about ongoing destruction in our oceans during the pandemic. Hopefully this discussion can widen your perspective to get involved in protecting our environment, especially our oceans. That's the end of our discussion this evening. Thank you for your participation, especially our panelists, Leila, Ines, Mas Irfan, Mas Baim, all the way from South Sulawesi. Thank you so much for your time. Special thank you also to the U.S. Embassy Jakarta, SIEG, and at America team for organizing this event. I am April Sirait. Stay safe and stay informed, everyone. Good night.
Okay, well, thank you so much again from us at America to April from CNN TV Indonesia, Leilani from Mongabay, Philippines, and grantee of the Earth Journalism Network, Ines from WRI Indonesia, Irvan from CNN Indonesia, and a senior member of SIEG, and Mas Baim from WCS Takabonerate. For the awesome session, it's been great having you with us. Earlier in the event, we asked our audience, recently, the protection of a species in marine conservation was forced to be suspended in order to protect the vaquitas, a type of porpoise, because of COVID-19. Which species was this? And the correct answer is sea shepherd. Shout out goes to Farhan Shalahuddin from YouTube for answering correctly. Thank you to everyone who has participated. Don't forget to tune in next time and catch a chance to get a shout out from us. Now you may be wondering, how do I develop an awesome idea for a place like this? Well, that's easy. All you need to do is visit our website at www.atamerica.or.id, select create a program, and click collaborate with us. All event proposals coming to us will be reviewed and your event might be featured here soon. You can also subscribe to our newsletter for all our weekly event updates, fun contents, and so much more sent straight to your inbox. That wraps this episode. It's been fun, but we have to say goodbye for now. Follow our Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at @ATAmerica. Follow our event updates, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Again, thanks for joining. My name is James. See you next time on At America TV. Bye.